I said, "Oh Lord Jesus, I've got to tell people to pray, because one, I know there's power in prayer, and two,
how do you find and keep hope alive?
I will find hope in what Jesus Christ did for me.
Do we believe?
My hope is centered totally, completely in Him.
Do we trust?
I have hope today because of what Jesus did on the cross.
His hope doesn't change.
Hope is triumphant, our triumph.
Hey, this is Carol and Jeff, along with Mac Powell, and this is what hope sounds like.
Welcome, Mac. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me."
I have a question for you.
All right, hit me.
Talk to me about life on the road as a Christian artist and also a father and being gone. And the reason I ask you that, I live in Gastonia, North Carolina, which is just outside of Charlotte, about almost 2 hours away. So I spend the week up here in Asheville, so I can be here at dark 30 every day.
Yeah.
And I know God has opened the door for this ministry for me to be here, but I'm torn. I have kids at home, and that whole balance and providing and being there as a stable dad and the influence you're supposed to be, and then also being gone, that's a challenge.
It is.
I don't know that I do that right, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I was hoping you could help me out. You know, it's one of those things that I've been traveling and doing this Christian music thing for. I've never even really come up with the actual. I'm afraid to do the math,
right?
Because it's been longer than I think, but probably 30 years. And you know, that's for me. That's my family has always known that. That's all they've known is me being gone a lot. But I think for us in the band with Third Day, when we traveled so much, we would always say to each other, "When you're home, you're home. Go serve your family." We would remind each other when we get off the bus and everybody's going their separate ways, we'd say, "Go serve your family." And that for us was like, okay, that's the work. The real work now is starting when we go home.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't really do a lot of things when I'm home. You know, I'm not going to hang out with my buds. I'm not going, to do all this stuff. It's like when I'm home, I'm home. Someone asked me the other day, they said, "Hey, where do you go to meet people when you have coffee?" I'm like, I don't, and that's not entirely true. There are times where I meet with somebody, but usually I try to do that stuff while I'm gone. If there's a movie I want to see, I'm going to do it while I'm on the road. If there's a ball game I want to go to, I'm going to try to do that on the road. And when I'm home, I try to spend every moment that I can with them. And for us, we've I don't even want to say we found a good balance, because I don't know if there ever is a great balance in it. But there are seasons where I don't have to be gone. So there can be, like, I've got tours coming up in October and November, but I'll be home most of December. So and January as well. So there's a couple of months where I get to be home more than I'm gone. And that kind of balances out those times of when I am gone 5 days a week. Yeah. So it's tough, but we're still working on it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I think probably family time took on a new meaning for you a couple of years ago. You were very vocal on social media about what your wife went through. So could you just kind of rewind the clock and tell us that story about what she went through?
Yeah, this Thanksgiving will be 4 years. My wife had a brain aneurysm, and it was one of those things that it kind of comes from out of the blue. You have no idea that's going to happen. And
no warning at all.
No warning at all. She woke up. I actually woke up. I thought she was talking in her sleep, and it was about 5 a.m. And so I tried to wake her up, and she wouldn't wake up. And so it kind of freaked me out, and I called 911. She finally woke up and kind of sat up, and she kept saying, the light's too bright, it's hurting my head. And so we went to the hospital, and it took them a couple of hours to find out what had happened, but and then she had to have a procedure done. And the whole time, it's funny that you mentioned social media, because I didn't want to tell anybody, because I didn't want it to look like I'm trying to get attention.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't really, I even called my family, and when I told my parents and her parents, I told them, don't come to the hospital, wait till the procedure's done. And then, because I just wanted to be by myself praying. I didn't want to be talking to anybody. I don't know. Everybody reacts in different ways, but that's what we went through. And when she was being wheeled into, to have her procedure, she had said to me, she said, "Hey, I want you to go on Instagram and Twitter and all the socials and tell people to pray. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that because I just don't want to be, like I said, I didn't want to look like I'm trying to get attention. And so about the procedure I was told was going to be about an hour. So 30 minutes into, halfway through it, I said, oh, Lord Jesus, I've got to tell people to pray because one, I know there's power in prayer.
Sure.
And two, if my wife dies, I do not want her to haunt me for not doing the last thing that she asked me to do.
Yeah.
So I did. And I was mad because, instantly my phone was like, bzz, 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 people are calling people. And I didn't want to do that. But I am glad that I did because, to this day, she's so great. You would never know she went through, what she went through. And I am confident that was because of so many people praying for us.
Mm-hmm. And I think you get a whole new perspective on ministry after that.
Yeah.
I mean, you realize that things can change in an instant.
Absolutely. And it really, for us who, what we do for a living is tell people about Jesus and having hope. It's, it really is challenged in those times. And for me, there was nothing else I could. You're trying to make me cry. Is this the Oprah show? Trying to make me cry. There was nothing else I could do. There was nothing I could do but just trust in the Lord, And I really, honestly, I don't know if this would happen again if I went through the situation again. But in that moment and in that time, that situation, I wasn't even worried. I just trusted the Lord so much that even if she passed, of course, that's not what I wanted. Sure. Even if she did, that the Lord was, going to take care of us. And thankfully, she is doing amazing. And and not everybody has that good news at the end of that trial, and that's why it's hard for me to talk about it because I know a lot of people, things have not happened in a good way for them when they've gone through that, and. So we were told by her cousin works at the CDC that a third of the people who go through brain aneurysms die. A third have long-term physical or mental deficiencies, and then a third end up being fine. And we happen to be, I think through the power of prayer and through the Lord's goodness, part of that third that she's fine. And so I'm so thankful.
Yeah, we're thankful too. And I want to thank you for sharing that on social media because I think that gave people a deeper connection to your music.
Yeah.
Because I think for whatever reason that we as listeners hear a song on the radio and we think you live this rock star life and nothing ever happens to you and you love God and are always faithful and all of those things.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you go through things like that and you share it, it just makes your music that much more relatable because people realize, oh, you're just like me.
Yeah, and it helped me a lot to try to, understand when people go through things like that. I think before that had happened, if someone goes through a similar situation with in their own life or a family member's life, you do feel bad for them and you do pray for them, but you don't really completely understand.
More theoretical than experiential.
Yeah, it's totally. You don't understand until you've gone through something like that. My dad passed away in October, so almost a year ago, and I feel bad now for all the times that friends told me about their parents passing because I had no idea. Until you go through it, you don't really understand. And so, it's it helps you to relate a little bit more to others.
Fellowship of suffering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So in this day and time, in a culture where everything seems divisive, where do you see hope?
Well, I see hope in a lot of things. There's hope all around.
Sure.
One reason that I love so much what I get to do is because it encourages people and brings them hope. I've seen it, and I've heard those stories a million times. And not only have I seen it from my music reaching people and their testimonies they've shared with me, but I've seen it in my own life in me being encouraged by music. I mean, we were on the radio together a little while ago, and you're playing all these songs that some of them new for me and some that I love that I've heard a million times. And I'm a fan of Christian music, not only because it's great music, but because of that hope. And to be able to be part of, as I said earlier, part of what God's doing in people's lives is just a tremendous honor. And so I find hope in a lot of different places, in a lot of different ways, but that's one of many.
And as we kind of close up our time together, what would you say to someone who is walking through a difficult time, and like you and Amy did, they're walking through a difficult time and they can't necessarily see the finish line? Because you didn't know when she went into surgery. You weren't sure if the woman that they wheeled out was going to be the same woman that you said I do to, right? I mean, she was the same person, but a lot of things could have changed. And I feel like there's a lot of people, and we hear from them every day, that are just hurting with heavy things like that.
Yeah.
What would you say to the person who is in the middle of that right now and just like, I don't know if I can take another step?
Yeah. Well, it's so many people go through so many difficult situations and trials, and anything I would have to say is probably not anything new that someone hasn't heard a million times before. But maybe, hearing this the million and one-th time, however you say that, will help somebody turn a corner. I just think that to be reminded from the scriptures, the Lord never promised that life was going to be easy. He never promised that. But what he did promise is that he was going to be there with us through those trials and through those hard times. And so, man, I really just, anybody that's listening, just know you are not alone. You may feel lonely. You may feel like you're alone, but you are not alone. He has said, I am there for you. And the Lord just really he's a good father. He wants to hold us just like a little child. He wants to hold us and whisper in our ear and remind us, you've been bought with a price. I love you. I want to have a relationship with you. And I just want anybody who's going through a hard time to be reminded of that.
Such good words. Thank you for your music ministry all these years. We appreciate you. We appreciate your humility and the way that you every time you come here, I feel like you said this a while ago, you feel like you're coming home, and we feel like that too.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you for the way that you serve our listeners, the way you serve us, and for being such a bright light in Christian music. We appreciate you, and you come on back anytime.
I appreciate that. I'm glad I didn't cry.
We just missed it by that much.
I'm holding it back right now, let me tell you.
Thank you for joining us, Mac.
Thank you, Mac.
This is Carol and Jeff with Mac Powell, and this is the What Hope Sounds Like podcast.